Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyaptadeyaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadguru Pranatoshyam The last verse was about memory. And memory is not real, obviously, because it depends upon what? The existence of the past, present, dependent on the idea of the future or the present. So these are all dualistic concepts. Now, the point is that that experience is the thoughts in your mind. The experiencer, the awareness, never becomes the thoughts. It's always free of the thoughts. And those thoughts, experience looks like it's taking place outside of the mind, but it's not. We've explained how the information coming from the senses is integrated at the mental level into the form of a vritti, a thought. And that thought is what you're seeing. Already Ishvara has employed the heuristic principle to help you deal with what's happening. In other words, Ishvara has simplified the complexity of life into a simple thought. Whatever's happening, whatever thought's appearing now, is a simplification. That's called heuristics. Because there's no way that we could understand or evaluate or integrate the tremendous amount of information that's bombarding our senses all the time. It's impossible. So Ishvara just supplies us with an approximation of experience. And because of that, Ishvara also builds in, out of compassion, the idea of questioning that, investigating that experience to see if it's real. Because it's not. What you experience with your senses is not real. It's seemingly real. It feels, and so it is. It feels real, but it isn't. So everything that I am, speaking as a jiva, as an individual person, is built up out of my thoughts. Whatever concept I have of myself is built up out of thoughts. And so the topic now is what you think you will become. This is what Margaret Thatcher said this, but it's old. It goes back to, Vedas and before. Thoughts become feelings, which become actions. Actions become habits. Thoughts, I should do this, I should do that, I want to do this, I want to do that, becomes feelings, emotions. The emotions become actions through these five senses organs here. And what happens then? The actions become habits, vasanas. And they form one's character. You can see where Dharma is getting in here now, and character is going to come in here. Because what kind of character do I have? Am I a dharmic stand-up person, or am I what? A conflicted adharmic person? What am I? And and these habits become one's character, which is what? An agglomeration, a group of habits, samskaras. And what? And one's character, what your character is, becomes your destiny. So what happens to you depends upon your character. And your character depends upon your what? Your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, and so forth and so on. See the cycle of dependence that's operating here? Okay. It's important to understand this now. Okay. So what? So, practicing the 8 steps of yoga and the 3 stages of Vedanta generates a dispassionate and non-attached mind. Normally, I'm all identified with my thoughts and my feelings and my actions and what's going to happen. In other words, I'm worried about the future. Karma yoga is meant to what? To help you deal with the future, to disidentify with the results of your actions. So practicing the 8 steps of yoga and the 3 steps of Vedanta generates a dispassionate, non-attached mind, which what? Leads to freedom from the mind. As long as the mind is what? Attached, there's no freedom. But by practicing yoga and Vedanta together, what am I going to get? I'm going to get a dispassionate mind, which means I'm going to become self-aware. My mind is going to become introverted, and I'm going to become aware of myself. Presently, we're like animals in the sense that we have minds and we function, and if animals function, they do think and feel in a rudimentary way, but they're not self-aware. They don't know that they're thinking and feeling. They don't know that things could be different. And they never have a future. They're always and live now. They're just programs written by Ishwara that are meant to what? To fulfill certain functions in the field. That's all. They're just functional entities. But they're not thinking entities. They do think, but only what? In a limited, rudimentary way, according to the program that has been assigned to them by Ishwara. Ishwara assigns a program for every living entity. And a human being is assigned a program also. So, which leads to freedom from the mind, which is what? The destiny of committed yogis and inquirers. In other words, because we have free will, we can actually what? Understand what we're seeking and why we're seeking. Whereas animals and plants, even though they're conscious entities and are complex programs, they can't understand that they're seeking because they're not seeking. and if they were, they couldn't understand why they were seeking. But that's available to us. So the 8 steps of yoga are explained below. Now these 8 steps of yoga and the 3 steps of Vedanta is your complete sadhana. Verses 13 and 14. Yoga and Vedanta, not the same but not different. To abide, verse 13 and 14. I've rewritten the Yoga Sutras basically, if you want to know. It's about time. And nobody really has the confidence to do it. The yogis don't have the confidence to do it. And the Vedantins are generally not interested in it that much because it's yoga. And they're all off in the self all the time, not worried about what's going on in the minds. So, so I thought, well, let's do this job for the tradition, and try to heal that split between yoga and Vedanta, and see how they're both complementary, how they both work. They both solve a particular problem, and a valuable, important existential problem is solved by Vedanta and by yoga. So we want to see them working together. Why not? Because they're not the same, but they're not different either. So, okay. Samadhi is a focused, absorbed state that ensues when the mind is controlled. So I would control the mind. Why? To gain a state of samadhi. Okay? We'll explain that word, the meaning of samadhi, in a minute. Both yoga and Vedanta require a simple, both of them what? This is where they're the same. They both require a simple lifestyle dedicated to the practice of samadhi. With and without mental modifications. Samadhi with thought and samadhi without thought. It's called Nirvikalpa Samadhi is without thought, and Savikalpa Samadhi is called samadhi with thought. What are the non-essential variables there? Thought and lack of thought. Thought and no thought are non-essential. What's the essential variable? Samadhi. Samadhi means what? Sama means equal. These are words that we really have to keep. We can't find English equivalents. So there's a handful of these Sanskrit words we just have to keep. And we'll explain them carefully so they become English words. Sama means equal, and di means what? Di is a contracted form of buddhi. Buddhi means what? Intellect. So di means, now what? Equal intellect. Now what does equal intellect mean? We have to take our time unfolding these connections. Equal intellect means what? The example is a good example. A yogi in samadhi sees no difference between a lump of gold and the excreta of a crow. In other words, crow shit and gold, that person sees as what? No, non-different. How does that work? Does that mean that a person in samadhi, a yogi in samadhi, sees a crow take a shit, and then he takes it to the bank, and he said, I'd like to put this in the bank in my account. I said, well, that's crow shit. Oh no, that's not different from a lump of gold. You can put that in there. No, that's not what it means. What does it mean? The essence of any object, whether it's crow shit or gold, the essence of it is what? Self. Consciousness. So there's no difference on that level. On the self level, there's no difference. On the what? On the midya level, there is a seeming difference. So he says here. So whether the self is with the thoughts or without thoughts, is the self in any way modified by the presence of thoughts or the absence of thoughts? No. So, means what? If you understand that, absolutely understand that, there's no need for yoga or Vedanta. If you don't understand it, then there's a need for yoga and Vedanta. Because what is it going to do? This yoga and Vedanta is going to make you dispassionate enough to get to see that the essence of something transcends or supersedes the appearance of something, whatever it is. Like if you have a piece of cake is sweet, cookies is sweet, candy is sweet, etc., etc., etc. All those what's the essential variable, the non-essential variable in all of those? Sweetness. Water comes in all kinds of different forms: hot water, boiling water, steam, etc., ice, this and that and the other thing. But all of them are H2O, aren't they? They're just water. And so the forms are non-essential, and the essence is what's essential. Now, a person that is the self naturally sees that way. In other words, the self naturally sees things that way. It values all things equally because it knows that at the bottom, they're all the same thing. They're all one thing appearing to be something different. But a jiva that doesn't know it's the self, it's going to what? It's going to have relative values for relative things. It's going to think a piece of crow shit, it's got to be put in the garbage, and what, a piece of gold has got to go to the bank. Now that's useful knowledge for living in this world. It's true. You don't want to embarrass yourself by taking a bunch of crow shit to the bank, and you won't. But you'll know very well that that crow shit is non-different from what? From the gold. This is all subjective knowledge. Right? It's all something that isn't appear from the outside, because you behave normally like anybody else when you know this. And you don't try to what? Demonstrate your sense of non-duality to the world. Which, if I were doing that, what would you do? You would what? It would indicate that you didn't have confidence in the knowledge. You required some validation other than what? The knowledge itself. In other words, understanding the knowledge itself to what? To validate you. But that validate your knowledge. So this needn't be spoken about. We act normal in every way, but we know something extra. And that something extra is the saving grace. That saves us from what? From involving ourselves and identifying ourselves with all of this changing names and forms that are continually presenting them, that Ishwar is continually presenting them to us, to awareness. He says, now he says here, Ashtanga Yoga is a series of rigorous, progressive disciplines which include a simplified version of Karma Yoga, which is what? Surrender of the results of one's action to the field of action, also known as surrender to God. You're going to see, we're going to get surrender to God or Ishwar. It's a topic that's coming up here. So, I said Ashtanga Yoga is a series of rigorous progressive disciplines which include a simplified version of Karma Yoga. You don't get the whole idea of Karma Yoga as presented in chapters 2 to 5 of the Bhagavad Gita. But we know that Patanjali wasn't a jnani, that he was just collecting information there, or he would not have presented it in this way. He would have presented it differently. It's possible he was a very spiritual man who was very just interested in spirituality, and he was open-minded, and so he picked up all these ideas from the culture. It was a very dynamic spiritual culture in those days. There was no real civilizations like we know them. No big distractions, no electricity, internet, all that sort of stuff, fancy jet travel and this and that and the other thing. Life was basically kind of like living here in the Campo. There's really not much to do here because nothing going on. It was very simple. So he could occupy his mind with the spiritual ideas that were floating around in the, at the time. It's easy to do. And Vedanta, okay, so he's got a notion of karma yoga. We're going to see that. Vedanta requires karma yoga as unfolded in the Gita, which is what? Followed by a group of disciplines known as upasana yoga that bring the mind under control. And so what is upasana yoga for Vedanta? It's Patanjali yoga, of which Patanjali's effective 8-step Ashtanga yoga is the most famous and most effective example. So why would we go to the trouble of reinventing a particular yoga, a particular sadhana for, because Patanjali has already, unfolded this sadhana for us. So we just co-opt it. The gunas, Vedanta is very cool. The gunas are not come from Vedanta directly. They came from Samkhya. But the Vedanta guys saw, this is a very, very cool way. This is a very, very effective and simple and powerful way to explain the behavior of this apparent reality. And so they just borrowed these 3 ideas from what? From Samkhya. In fact, at the very beginning, Krishna mentions that. And he calls Vedanta Samkhya, actually. So, once the mind is disciplined, it's ready for the last 3 stages. So again, it's going to prepare you to what? To listen clearly. A lot of you guys are already prepared. You don't really have to worry about this. This isn't about, I'm not trying to encourage you to do anything particularly. This is just to get you to evaluate where you actually are and what you do actually know here and now. Because many of you are listening properly. Some of you need some more work on the listening. And some of you are discriminating properly. In other words, reflecting properly and assimilating the knowledge properly. It's just happening. So this isn't, I'm saying, don't think, oh, well now, gee, I haven't been doing that Yoga Sutras. Geez, I better do the Yoga Sutras now to cover my butt, make sure I've got everything all, okay. I don't want to leave any stone unturned here. So, no, it's just a matter of understanding. So that's why we're presenting this. Once the mind is disciplined, it's ready for the last 3 stages: listening to scripture unfolded by a qualified teacher, yes, reflecting on the main teaching, blah, 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 blah. And what? And grounding the knowledge in everyday life. That's nididhyasana. Seeing that, the way I live, right, reflects what I know. That's called a self-actualized, self-realized, or a self-actualized person. They've realized it. In other words, that knowledge is operating in their daily life. So there's no conflict between what they know and what they are. This knower-doer split is gone. And they're actually what? There's no actual split. Their life is reflecting what they are. That is, their life is beautiful and peaceful and dharmic and right. There's love there. There's understanding. It's beautiful. When the chitta is pacified, okay, you love yourself completely. Why? Because you did the one thing that only you can do, which is what? Remove your suffering. No one else is going to remove your suffering. A guru can't take away your suffering. People think that. They think, oh, I don't have to do anything. Guru is going to clean my karma for me. All I have to do is do what the guru says, and the guru will clean my karma for me. No, the guru will not clean your karma. Any guru that's allowing you to believe that hasn't cleaned his or her karma, for sure. And only you can clean up your karma. But we can show you how to do it. That's all. And then it's up to you whether you apply yourself to this task. If you need to. Maybe you don't need to. It's always, people ask me, well, what about me? Please tell me where I'm at. I say, how would I know where you're at? Because to me, everybody's the self. So if you don't say anything, I just see you as the self. If you open your mouth and some ignorance comes out, and then perhaps I might, point out that didn't make sense or whatever it was, if you wanted to hear that. Otherwise, I just keep my mouth shut and see you as the self, because that's what you are anyway. But if you're asking where you're at, it means what? You're not the self. Because the self's not at a particular place, is it? Self is everywhere. The self can't be located. It's that in which everything is located. I mean, the location of all objects is in my consciousness, in my mind. Mind is just reflected consciousness. When the self is, chitta is pacified, you love yourself completely because you've rid yourself of suffering. And how is it pacified? By performing actions that conform with your highest value. Well, what's your highest value? Freedom and non-dual love. Freedom is non-different from non-dual love. It's just two different words describing the same fact. A free person, what? A free person is love, because what? The self is love, i.e., whole and complete bliss. What we call love is not bliss, but what we call love. But bliss is, but love is bliss, actually. If you're asking for love from somebody else, then you haven't understood. Understand? Because your nature is what? Non-dual love, non-dual bliss. There's no second person involved in, second entity involved in that, so there's no conditionality, is there? If there's a second person involved in your love, another person, then what? There's conditionality. There's dependence. There's attachment. There's desire. There's fear. All these negative vrittis, negative thoughts and emotions, they're all operating when you think that what? You're in a relationship with something other than yourself. When you know you're in a relationship with yourself, there's no conflict. Why? Because if you love yourself, if the self is the highest form of love, and the other person is yourself, then where's the conflict? You love them as much as you love yourself, because there's no difference. Yeah. So. Says here, where are we here? Oh yeah, what did I go here? But, oh yeah, the highest value. Performing actions which conform to your highest value, which is what? Freedom from what? Binding involuntary thoughts. Remember we said there's two kinds of thought. You don't have any problem with thoughts make you feel good, do you? You're happy with those thoughts, but there's a bunch of thoughts and feelings that you're not happy with at all. And what? Now, yoga is going to what? Turn those involuntary thoughts into what? Voluntary thoughts. They're not, those things that were bothering you are not going to bother you anymore. They're going to be wanted thoughts. Okay. Quiet, one-pointed chitta is what? Blissful satisfaction. Now we're talking here about yoga as what? An effort, a practice. We're going to gain experiential non-duality without going to sleep in yoga. Think about it. We said you want experience, you want to be enlightened, then go to sleep. But that doesn't work in the waking state. If you want to what? Experience non-duality in the waking state, then practice yoga. And why wouldn't you do that? Because in the waking state you're just putting a lot of effort to what? To get. What are you getting in the waking state from your effort? Vasanas. Samsara. You're getting samsara. You're not getting samadhi. So, the same amount of effort is required to get what? Samadhi is to get samsara. In fact, it's more pleasant and more. It's a more pleasant task than trying to make the samsara work, because I can't make the samsara work, because it's designed not to work. Ishwara designed ignorance in such a way that what? It's not meant to work. It's meant to frustrate you and what? And cause you to seek Ishwara. So, 15, dispassion. Dispassion is a state of mind attained by what? Non-craving for sense objects. Now, that means what? That doesn't mean what? There's no sense objects for a dispassionate person. That doesn't mean the absence of sense objects. A dispassionate person enjoys all the senses fully for what they are, but what? He doesn't crave for those things. They don't produce vasanas for him or her. It's the craving that's producing the vasanas. Why doesn't a dispassionate person get the craving from the senses that a samsari gets, an attached person? Because he or she knows they're what? They're amitya, they're unreal. Which means what? You see the conflict immediately we're in, huh? Because I really think those things are real. I would not be attached to the sensual pleasures, food, clothing, all that stuff, all the stuff that we want, if I thought they were unreal. I'm attached to them because I think they're real. Isn't it? If you know that something's not real, will you chase it? You won't do it. It just doesn't happen. You'll only chase an object that you think is real. So the whole problem is what? If I'm not dispassionate, I am passionate. And that passion is producing vasanas, which keeps me spinning on the samsara wheel. My mind is constantly my intellect, thoughts are constantly, I'm always trying to manipulate with my intellect situations to produce, wanted experiences, wanted emotions, and my emotions are always disturbed. Because my intellect is not settled. I'm seeking, I'm hungry, I'm passionate. I think I need this for what? For my well-being. So, dispassion, the primary qualification for yoga is what? Now we're talking in terms of the action, is indifference to the results of one's actions. Well, why should I be indifferent to the results of my actions? Well, because they're not under my control. If the results of my actions were under my control, then go right ahead and be attached and manipulate the thoughts to produce the kind of results that you want. But as soon as you do an action, you put the action in the Ishwara's hands, haven't you? You no longer have control of it. You've offered it to Ishwara. So what is this worrying about what the result is when it's not in my hands? Why? Oh no! See, the whole thing boils down to trust. This is where the fear thought comes in. The fear is preventing me from what? From trusting life. Not appreciating that this is an intelligently designed field that what is designed in such a way to lead me home, back to where I'm supposed to be going. Ishwara knows where I'm supposed to go. And Ishwara provides this field that's going to just funnel me back to this. But I don't trust that. I'm suspicious. I think maybe God is going to punish me. Any punishment comes from what? From you. You're punishing yourself by not trusting in God. Because the important thing is what? Is that the mind be trusting. Not that it be suspicious. It says, the primary qualification for yoga is indifference to the results of one's actions, which is difficult to achieve. Why? Because individuals take themselves to be doers and act purposefully to enjoy specific results which do not always conform to their expectations. When you do an action, you expect a result. Nobody does an action not expecting a result. Oh no, I just do actions. I don't expect any results. No, you do not. You do. That's such bullshit. You do not. You expect a result. That's why you do the action. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's natural. The only problem is that, once you've done the action, then what? Then forget it. It's over. It's gone. Ishwara is now in charge. You've turned your life over to Ishwara, whether you like it or not. And the fact that you get something you don't like is not a problem. It's not Ishwara's problem. It's a problem with my expectations. So what does a karma yogi do? It takes the result as prasad, as a gift from God, and what does that do? That removes the what? The like or the dislike that's producing the expectation. Just takes care of it on both ends, on the giving and on the getting. Because here we are, we're we're offering and we're gaining something from our offering. In the case of karma yoga, every action is what? A gain. What is the gain? A loss of what? Of a binding vasana. What a gain that is. Isn't it? See how zero sum is working here? And how this whole philosophy, this whole teaching, understands that? And lets you see it from a different angle. Because, you think, well, I lost this, but for every gain there's a loss, isn't? For every loss there's a gain, isn't there? For every gain there's a loss, that's true, but for every loss there's a gain. So I didn't get what I want, but what did I get? I got something I actually is useful for me. What? I removed one vasana from this samskara bundle here. The samskara bundle is nothing but a whole bunch of vasanas that are all incestuously tied together. And as you remove a vasana with this attitude, what happens? The pressure that's coming from here to act is reduced by one vasana. You do that every day for every action, for every thought. Can you see how quickly you're going to unwind this tension that's operating here? This is where your stress and your tension is stored. It's saved, the momentum, the feeling of stress, always pressure. Well, karma yoga is going to unwind it. Samsaric, I want, and I don't want, that's a samsaric attitude. That increases the pressure, and karma yoga decreases the pressure. And so the mind, what happens? The mind is no longer extroverted, worrying all about what's happening outside. It slowly turns around, gradually, and it starts to look toward the self. The light of the self shining within. This will be the inner self. We're going to temporarily say there's an inner and an outer self. It's going to be the same self, obviously. And this is as good as that self anyway, because there's actually no difference between a reflection and the original. There is a difference, but there's no difference. So here's the solution to getting that one-pointed attention, because the reason I'm outside is, what am I looking for? I'm constantly looking for happiness or bliss, aren't I? For joy. I'm trying to manipulate the experiences to produce the joy. But the joy is coming from here. So I should, instead of looking out there for it, I should look here for it, where I can see it. Reflected where? In my mind. The mind is a reflecting medium. A jiva is three things. It's what? It's original pure consciousness. It's the reflection of consciousness, and it's a reflecting medium. Those three things, that's what makes up the jiva. If you look at this space right here, just imagine a space right here. Is there light in that space? Is there light there? Yes. How do you know? I don't see any light. Where's the light? I don't see any light. So maybe do I have to get there to see it? Now do you see the light? Huh?
Reflection.
Yeah. There's clear there's light there. Why? Because there's a medium that reflects it. You don't need to look elsewhere. Look into your own mind and you'll see the light shining in your own mind. Because this subtle body is what? It's made out of what? Sattva guna. And sattva is clear and it reflects it. It reflects awareness. So I can identify the light shining in myself. I can see the Lord in my heart. That's to use a metaphor. Heart means essence. What's the essence of this light? The original. Is the original non-different? Well, yes it is, but is it different? Yes it is. Just looking at it from two different points of view. So I don't need to worry about this because I can see this shining here in me. And I can see that the bliss that I'm searching for outside in all these events is actually right here shining in me. And then I'm going to become what? Dispassionate. With reference to objects. And where will the passion go? It will convert itself into love of Ishvara. I will become a passionate lover of Ishvara. I'm not going to lose the passion. Oh, that's so awful. I just want to feel life. I'm so passionate. Okay, good. Well, just find out who Ishvara is, and you'll get some serious passion. That's called burning desire for liberation. You see how beautiful yourself is, and you see it reflected in yourself. You're totally uninterested in that stuff out there. The MSP, the money, sex, power, and all that stuff is so what? The Lord is shining in my heart. How can you not fall in love with Ishvara? It delivers everything that's valuable to me is delivered by Ishvara. And Ishvara is jealous. Ishvara just wants my love. So the more I love Ishvara, the more Ishvara loves me. Nice. And I function dispassionately and impersonally in everyday situations. I'm polite and pleasant and friendly and so forth and so on. But I'm not trying to milk the world for some bliss. It's called a wish-fulfilling cow. It's giving this milk, this cow that just continues to give this milk, this bliss, over and over and over again. It's fulfilling me all the time. Right? So yoga is what? It's turning the mind inward and getting it focused, absorbed in what? In something that's experienceable, something that's knowable, something that's practical, something that's right here, available. Tangible. The thing that's most tangible is intangible. The substance of everything is intangible. And what is tangible is what? Non-substantial. It's just the opposite. Maya's done this little trick. It's called viparaya. It's reversed the relationship between the subject and the object. Previously, I thought I was this, and the self was an object to be known. That's only because Maya's reversed the relationship. When I'm actually this and what? And this person, this jiva reflection, is what? Is an object known to me. Just reversed. Viparaya is the Sanskrit word, viparaya. Just ignorance reverses the relationship between the subject, me, awareness, existence, shine as awareness, and what? And my reflection. It is what is this dispassion? It is non-pandering to the enjoyer aspect of the ego. The ego has two aspects. This ego, it's a dualistic concept. What is it? It's a doer and an enjoyer. It has two functions. Why do I do? To enjoy. Once I've done what? Then what? Then once I've done, I hope that what? That I will gain the enjoyment. When the thing comes that I want, then I enjoy. I'm not a doer then, I'm an enjoyer then. I do to enjoy. See the duality here? See the problem that's operating here? Why do I do to enjoy? Because I don't know I am the joy. It's non-pandering to the enjoyer aspect of the ego. You don't have to pander to the doer aspect of the ego. Why not? Because there's never a moment when you're not doing. It's not up to you. The day you stop doing is the day you're dead. The day your body dies. Why is that? You have no choice about that, about action. You only have choice about the result. Why is it that you have no choice about doing? Because awareness is what shining on. Awareness never stops shining on the subtle body. So it's always producing action. Either unmanifest action when you're asleep, which is going to manifest, or manifest action when you're awake. So you have no choice here about this doing, but you do have a choice about enjoying. Dispassionate people who possess a spirit of renunciation and what? Appreciate the zero-sum nature of results, think things through before they act, and curtail contemplated actions that are not in harmony with their self-nature and the situations unfolding in their environments. That sentence needs a little bit of unfolding, maybe. Huh? See that power pack? See, these are nuggets. These are kernels, and that's the job of the teacher to unfold the meaning of these. It says here, dispassionate people who possess a spirit of renunciation. But what does that mean? Why would you have a spirit of renunciation? Because what? Renunciation for what? For the results of your actions, he means. Because it's not up to you. When you understand that the result's not up to you, you are a renunciate. You just stop worrying about it. So they have a spirit of renunciation, and what? And they appreciate the zero-sum nature of results. In other words, they know that for every upside there's a downside, and for every downside there's an upside. So they know they're not actually gaining anything here. For every gain there's a loss, and loss there's a gain. So this is a dispassionate person. But what do? They still think things through before they act. Why? To avoid actions that what? Are not in harmony with their self-nature. In other words, they contemplate the results of those actions, and if the adharma is operating there, if selfishness and greed and so forth and so on is the motivation behind those things, they will forego those actions. They will not do them. See how honest you have to be, though. How transparent and how honest you have to be with yourself. You have to say, oh, this is not going to produce what I want. You see, I don't know how many women I've met who told me, when they tell me their story about their love life, their marriage and stuff. And so many have told me, all of my friends and my family said I shouldn't have married the guy. And I knew very well, even on the wedding day, that there was something wrong with it. But I went ahead and did it anyway. They knew, but they didn't. What? They didn't stop the action. If they'd stopped the action, they wouldn't have had to go through that whole big issue with this guy and waste 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, however many years suffering like a dog trying to make that situation work. It wasn't meant to work anyway because it wasn't in harmony with what's good for you or what's good for Ishvara, and either one is good enough to ruin your life. Either violating your own dharma or Ishvara's dharma is good enough to make your life a mess. And then after a while, it takes a long time, and they say, "Oh my God, I made a mistake." Well, all those mistakes can be avoided if you think things through. Karma yogis are planners. I mean, this seminar is working really good. You know why? Because Sundari and I we thought you have no idea the number of thoughts and actions that have gone into making this a pleasant experience. Maybe you do. Whew, poor Sundari, my God. Oh man, she lets me off the hook on a lot, but she's just taken over all this hard stuff, all the thoughts. But now look at how nice it is, how pleasant it is. And even Ishvara, what does Ishvara decide to do? Give us good weather. And so far, nobody seems to have got the virus. So far. So I mean, animals can't do this. Animals don't plan. They can't think things through. We can plan because we have this faculty of self-awareness. We have free will. We have choice. We can plan. What do they do? And what is that planning? What is that planning that they do? They reflect on their values, beliefs, and opinions, and their deeds, and they're not too proud to say, "I don't need to do this, I'm better than this." I was, years ago, it must have been 20 years ago, no, it wasn't about, maybe it was 15, I saw an interview with a woman who was interviewing Bill Clinton, who was the president of the States. This was after his term. And she asked him why he got involved with Monica Lewinsky. And you know what he said? You know what he said? Because I could. How much grief he brought to himself, to the woman, and to the country. We had to listen to stories about her semen-stained dress for 1 year. We had to have him get on TV and listen. "I did not have sex with that woman." To lie and deny and all that sort of thing, huh? We had to listen to that just because he could. You can do that. You can break the Dharma all you want. It's you're free to break Dharma. If you're free to break Dharma. But stop and think about it. That's all we're saying. Stop and think about it. Did you have something? No. Oh, okay. Think it through. The idea here. I don't need to do this. I'm better than this. Time to quit. So, verse 16, we'll pick that up after, at what, 4:30? At 4:30, good.